I did my undergrad at HR and did my BMM degree. I majored in advertising. Following that, I worked at Viacom for about a year, primarily as an intern, and then did my master's from the UK at Imperial, after which I moved back to work at YouTube on the partnerships team, like you mentioned. And broadly, what we do is work with content partners in the ecosystem to really help them scale on the platform, whether it's building strategies for what content they should put out there, how they engage with the right audience, how they monetize well. That's a broad part of what we try to solve. And the verticals I tend to work with are news, sports, and entertainment. I think I have a bit of an unhealthy obsession with coffee. So
Okay.
the first thing I want to do is to have have a cup of coffee in the morning and maybe get some reading in on the weekends. On weekdays,
Okay.
it's probably just heading straight to work. I would say something related to languages, whether it's maybe a programming language or even other spoken languages. I think being able to instantly learn a language
Okay.
would be a skill that I would look for. Oh, good one. I think maybe not superpower in a conventional sense, but I wish I had maybe a photographic memory. So if I
Yeah.
could read things and remember it just by picking them up once, that would probably be a superpower for me. Good question. I think my answer might be biased by us being in the peak, almost the peak of summer right now. So probably somewhere in the northern hemisphere, maybe like Iceland or Greenland, to
I
be somewhere colder. Oh, I think very tough to narrow down, but two authors that I really appreciate or been reading a lot from are Cal Newport and Greg McKeown. So their books are Essentialism and So Good They Can't Ignore You. And I think one common thread that I found between both books is to, sort of ruthlessly prioritize what's important for you and, say for your career and for the work that you do. And to not be afraid of sometimes disappointing people by saying no to by saying no to accepting work from them. So I think remembering what's a priority to you and building on that is the best piece of advice I've gotten recently. Yeah, sure. So I think at a high level, it's to make sure that the partners that we work on YouTube, right, be those content creators, be those companies that are creating, like brands and companies that are in the business of creating content, the main role is to make sure that they grow and thrive on the platform. And it's sort of really aligning with what their business goals are and figuring out how YouTube fits into that, right? For a creator, if the objective is to build a business through YouTube, it's trying to figure out how they can build a merch brand on YouTube, how they build maybe their own IPs or their unique identity on the platform. For media companies, it might be more about how do we expand their distribution, get them to, find the right viewers. How do they monetize? I think as a company, monetization is a big one. So, how do they monetize better through YouTube and make that an important part of their overall business? So that's what the key responsibility is essentially. And then, of course, there are a bunch of small things within it across, essentially the tactical sort of measures that you can use to get them there. So whether it's helping them figure out what users on the platform are watching, what users who they're appealing to are interested in, how do they sort of figure out these things, like looking at data from a quantitative and qualitative perspective. Maybe I won't round down to just one company, but I can speak, maybe to a few industries, right?
Yeah.
The first one, potentially being when it comes to the entertainment space, right? I think a big part of their objective is how do we either get viewers to come to watch movies, or if they're a TV studio, or if they're a sort of digital first entertainment companies, how do we get those eyeballs? And that's a lot more about knowing, like, understanding culture and what the zeitgeist is and the kind of content, right? I think a great example is like TVF does some amazing stuff that I'm always a bit of a fan of. They understand, like, culturally what's going on right now and how that's important. So I think that's what it looks like for the entertainment thing, and the experiences, like helping build those properties and really helping them make sure that it reaches the right audience. In news, it's maybe about how do we help them monetize better, right? I think news is experiencing this big movement from traditional media to digital, and how do we help them make sure that they can build sustainable businesses when it comes to news, and making sure that viewers get free, fair, and unbiased news when they need it. And then the last part about sports is really figuring out how they can leverage their access to sport stars and these players who are really sort of important and are really who people want to see, right? People go crazy for all of them. So it's really figuring out how they leverage their access to bring these people to the forefront and make people happy to watch content, I think. Yeah, another really good question. So I would say, I think the core skill one is understanding the ecosystem, right? If we think about media historically, the distribution was controlled by major organizations, right? When it comes to newspaper, TV, or radio, it was centralized in certain organizations who really sort of controlled distribution. And if you wanted to reach an audience, you had to go through them. But as we've evolved into the internet, distribution is what's been democratized, right? So the first part is understanding how democratizing that distribution works and how businesses are built on that. So I think just understanding the ecosystem is the first skill. The second one is being able to work with people both internally and externally, because I think we no longer live in or work in these silos within companies where you have your own thing and that's all you do. I think there's a lot of work internally and externally. So being able to work with people, like I said earlier, being able to push back where required, being able to multitask when required would be number two. And then number three, I think that's growing in importance, is being able to understand, interpret, and analyze data. I think that's a really big one, right? A lot of what works, like in tech especially, like data is the key to all decision making. So being able to analyze, interpret, and really extract insights from that data are the three go-to skills that I would say someone should pick up if they want to be in this industry, right? Fundamentally, it's either can you build something or can you sell something? And building is like you can learn programming languages, work on the software side, or selling something is working with these partners and really helping them leverage technology.